Kujichagulia.
Kujichagulia.
All right, again, I'm IsiXhosa, Regional Director for the Malcolm X Grassroots Movement. I've been in this movement for long haul. I've been in this 30 years, and I intend to continue on until we are free. Well, I can't stand anymore, or whatever I need to do. But the struggle continues, as they say. You know, there's many people who have passed on, and they died in this movement, and I intend to continue and die in this movement if I need to. I'm in it for the long haul. I'm not giving up. Not giving up any of these things that are going on here in the city of Detroit, because some people are trying to take all of this away from us. You know, we have to fight to keep what we have here in Detroit. I make no bones about it. I don't like the administration. I don't like the things that are going on in this city. You know, and we need to make sure that we fight against not only the gentrifiers, the millionaires and billionaires, but the sellouts and sambos who just giving our stuff away. You know, I don't pull no punches about that. Let's be serious about our business.
That's right.
You know, so without further ado, I met this brother a few years ago. He's done quite a few of our Kwanzaa program. He's an historian. He's the founder of the African History Network. He hosted the African History Network show on 910 Superstation. WFDF Detroit, which can be heard 6 nights per week, Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. Midnights and Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. His show focuses on education, empowering and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. He is the founder and host of the nationally syndicated radio show, the Michael Imhotep Show, on the Empowerment Radio Network. He is a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, writer, and historian. He has guest hosted national radio shows, including the Warren Valentine Show and the Roland Martin Show. He's currently a weekly panelist on the daily digital show, Roland Martin Unfiltered, every Friday. His motto is, right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. Right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. He is a jewel here in Detroit. I'm glad he's here in Detroit because he gives out so much historical information, talks about the greatness of African people. Hopefully y'all know what the greatness of African people. We were here first. We were here first.
Yes.
You know, and we are going to continue to be here. We say we don't die, we just multiply. All right, without further ado, Michael Imhotep, let's give him a hand.
All right, Hotep family, how's everybody doing today? All right, all right. Baragani. All right, Baragani. Okay, so, you know, my brother Kimba was saying one of his favorite speakers was coming up. I said, I want to hear this, brother. Who's he talking about? He was talking about me. Okay, so I'm Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, writer, and historian. This presentation is a slightly updated version of one I did back in 2018, right here. It was actually December 27th of 2018 for the Malcolm X Grassroots Movement. So I want to thank Brother Bomani, Brother Kimba, Sister Shoshana. I want to thank you all for having me speak here again. And for some reason, they're the only people that ask me to speak during Kwanzaa. I don't understand that. Anyway, okay. So this presentation is called From Kwanzaa to Wakanda, Reconnecting African Americans to African Culture and History for Self-Empowerment, okay? And here's my information here. Here's my email address, info@africanhistorynetwork.com. You can email me there. I'll respond to you if you want me to speak for your group or organization. And at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it corrects wrong behavior. Okay, so I'm on 910 AM Superstation WFDF. And if you visit my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, we have information about that. I know the Malcolm X Grassroots Movement, they're still recruiting.
Absolutely.
They're still recruiting, so they want you. Okay, you can't see it here because of the display here. They said, we want you. Okay, that's Malcolm X, our brother Malcolm. Now, anytime I speak, I know I may say some things that are outside the circumference of some people's awareness. Now, just because you never heard it before, disagree with it, or don't like it, does not mean it's not true. It just means you have to do some research to understand what I'm talking about, okay? So usually when I speak, I usually have people put their fingers together to form a circle. I usually say something like this: the space inside the circle represents my realm of knowledge. Everything that I think I know about whatever I think I know is represented within the circumference of this circle. I must keep in mind that there are still things to know that exist outside the circumference of my own awareness. So just because you know everything that you know about what you know, does not mean you know everything that is to know about what you know. There's still things that exist outside the circumference of your own awareness. Now, Malcolm taught us a number of things. Malcolm's one of my heroes. Malcolm, Dr. King, Marcus Garvey, Rosa Parks, Stanley Lou Hamer, Queen Nzinga. But Malcolm taught us a number of things. And one of the things that Malcolm taught us was the power of the media. In my degrees in business administration with a major in marketing from Wayne State University, graduated from Cass Technical High School as well. But Malcolm said the media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent, and that's power because they control the minds of the masses. Because they control the minds of the masses. Now, I'm going to show this brief clip of Malcolm X, and I like to show this at presentations like this because it's about a 59-second, well, it's about a 2-minute clip. But Malcolm asked the question of who are you? And what Kwanzaa does is reconnects us to our African history and African culture. Because in this presentation, what I do is show you some of the African roots of Kwanzaa. Okay, and a lot of people don't understand this history. Okay, now this is Malcolm. Let's see. Let's press play back there. Nope. Press play. It should play. Okay. All right. If it's not playing, Malcolm asked the question: who are you? You don't know. Don't tell me Negro. What were you before the white man named you a Negro? Where were you and what did you have? What language did you speak? Okay. What was your name? It couldn't have been Smith or Jones or Bunch or Powell. That wasn't your name. They didn't have those type of names where you and I came from. What was your name? And what happened to you? Why don't you know now what your name was then? What happened to your history? What happened to your culture? What happened to your land? What happened to your history? What method did the man use to make you as dumb as you are right now? So this is what Malcolm was saying. Then the next clip is Malcolm, March 29, 1964, delivering the Ballad of the Bullet, where he uses the term African Americans. Because for some reason people think Jesse Jackson created the term African American. No, Malcolm uses, you read Malcolm's speeches. He uses the term, we used the term in the 1960s. One of my teachers, Professor James Small, told me personally, we were using the term African Americans in the 1960s. The earliest recorded usage of the term African American dates back to about May 1782 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. New York Times has 2 articles dealing with this. All right, now, Kwanzaa answers the question of who are you? The question that Malcolm was asking us. Who are you? Who are we? It answers the question of who are we by reconnecting many African Americans to our history and culture. A people's history and culture teaches them how to deal with the problems of the past, in the present, and the future to meet the needs of the community. So when we study this information, we don't study this information to speak negatively about other people that don't know it. We don't study this information to win some black version of Jeopardy or something like that and see who can memorize the most facts and figures. The information that we take in should bring about behavior modification. This is why our motto is right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. Okay, it should bring about behavior modification. And then when we saw, how many people saw the film Black Panther? The original, this will be very good, this will be great. How many people saw the film Black Panther? Okay, so we know Black Panther 2 is coming out November of 2022. And I've done 3 lectures dealing with the film Black Panther and show how it connects to African history and culture. And at the beginning of the movie, you have the scene where they're fighting at what's called Warrior Falls, where the waterfalls, where they have the fight to see who's going to sit on the throne of Wakanda. It's called Warrior Falls. It's straight out the comic book. And there's a scene where T'Challa's losing, and we know we lost Chadwick Boseman. It was tragic. He passed away from, I think it was colon cancer. But there was a scene where he's losing to M'Baku of the Jabari tribe, and his stepmother, played by Angela Bassett, Ramonda, she yells out, "Show them who you are. Show them who you are." Okay, well, before you can show them who you are, you have to know who you are. This is where our history and culture comes into play. Now, how many people are familiar with Dr. David Imhotep, who wrote the book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence? All right. How many people, you're not familiar with Dr. David Imhotep? Oh my God, you can Google his name. You Google his name, mine will come up also, because I've interviewed him probably about 13 times. His first book came out in 2011 on this subject matter, and it deals with the African presence in the Americas dating back at least 56,000 years ago. 56,000 years ago in South America, at least 51,700 years ago in the land we call the United States of America. Now this is before Native Americans came into existence, okay? And when you see some of my information, you look at the interviews I've done with them, we go deep into this history. And this is why, even though the transatlantic slave trade happened, this is why, you know, some of the academics I have to correct, because we have to understand the last 50,000 years of history, not just the last 500 years of history. Okay? So yes, the transatlantic slave trade happened, but we have to deal with the history of thousands of years before that. Now, on page 14 of his book, he deals with the discovery that was made in Allendale County, South Carolina in 2004. I teach online classes dealing with history and things like this, and some of these archaeological discoveries that are coming out every other week, I deal with in the class, okay? And I say the deeper they dig, the blacker the planet gets, the more research they do, the older we get. Because when these archaeological discoveries come out, they keep having to push the timelines back. They keep realizing all this stuff is much older than they originally told us. But on page 14 of his book, he deals with this archaeological discovery made by Dr. Albert Goodyear, who's an archaeologist from the University of South Carolina. Dr. Albert Goodyear is derided by the authorities in European archaeology and things like this because his discovery is flipping everything upside down. What he found was 13 different types of evidence fairly documented an African presence in this country dating back at least 51,700 years. And these were the Khoisan, who have the oldest DNA on the planet. They're the ancestors to the Ainu and the Twa. They go all around the world. They're in southern Africa. They're still alive today. And they were here in this land also. But they found artifacts, architecture, campsites, carvings, Egyptian writings, footprints in lava, genetic M174D haploid groups dealing with DNA and genetics, linguistics, paintings, skulls, skeletons, structures, and tools. Now, I last interviewed Dr. David Imhotep October 12th, 2021. October 12th, we know, is the anniversary of Columbus landing in what he called the Bahamas. And when we look at where Columbus went on his 4 voyages, number one, we all know Columbus never came to the land we call the United States of America. Okay, right? We all know that, right? We all know that. That ain't everybody saying. Y'all said Kujichagulia, y'all said Kujichagulia the other day. Go look, don't take my word for it. Proper documentation is all conversation. I can show you what white historians will show you. Go to history.com, okay? And look up Christopher Columbus. It shows you where he went on his 4 voyages. The closest he came to this land we call the United States of America was Cuba, which is 90 miles away. But he goes into Cuba, Hispaniola, the western third of the island of Hispaniola is where Haiti is. He goes into Puerto Rico, Honduras, Panama. But a lot of the countries that he conquered on behalf of the Spanish crown are still in turmoil today. And we've heard Puerto Rico on the news. We definitely heard Haiti in the news. Things like this. They're still in Cuba. They're still reeling from being conquered over 500 years ago by Columbus and the Spanish crown. Now, this article right here, this is just a brief summary of it. Read this article, okay? As one of my teachers, Professor Kabahaya Watakamane says, you don't have to believe a word that I say, go do your own research, okay? Proper documentation ends all conversation. Read this article. New evidence puts man in North America 50,000 years ago. This article is from November 18, 2004. It's from ScienceDaily.com. ScienceDaily.com is a scientific website. They have all types of scientific discoveries, archaeological discoveries there, things like this. The article is still there because I show this in my classes when I teach. They're talking about Dr. Albert Goodyear's discovery. This is Dr. Albert Goodyear. He's an archaeologist from the University of South Carolina. The summary says, radiocarbon tests of carbonized plant remains where artifacts were unearthed last May along the Savannah River in Allendale County by University of South Carolina archaeologist Dr. Albert Goodyear indicate that the sediments containing these artifacts are at least 50,000 years old, meaning that humans inhabited North America long before the last ice age. So his discovery just totally flipped everything upside down. And what we have to understand is that, you know, a lot of people talk about the 1619 project. Okay, well, there's some good there, there's some historical inaccuracies there, there's some good there, but the Spanish were taking Africans into the territory we call South Carolina and Georgia in 1526. That's 93 years before 1619, last time I checked. People don't even talk about that. Juan Garrido, the Spanish conquistador, who was born in West Africa in 1480, came into Florida with Juan Ponce de Leon, the Spanish conquistador, in 1513. That's before 1619. And this is where you get the name Florida. That came from, that's in reference to flowers in Spanish coming from Juan Ponce de Leon. So this was our land stolen from us. When we actually study this history, we would have a seismic shift in the conscious level of African people in this country, 50 million African people, when we realized that this was our land stolen from us. Okay. Some people sound scared. Are y'all okay? Yeah. All this stuff is fairly documented. This ain't just me saying it. All this stuff is fairly documented. See, now, yes, slavery existed, but see, I got into this conversation, somebody called this on my show and said he's a descendant of slaves. I said, weren't the slaves free? December 6, 1865, when Georgia ratified the 13th Amendment, child slavery in it, weren't the slaves free? When you go study Reconstruction, 1865, 1877, I teach all this history. When you go study Reconstruction, they had organizations, they had like the Freedmen's Bank. It wasn't called the Slave Bank. It was the Freedmen's Bank. They had the Freedmen's Bureau. It wasn't called the Slave Bureau. They were calling themselves former slaves, ex-slaves, freedmen, black freedmen Indian treaties of 1866. I said, why do some of us, now they don't do it intentionally, but why do some of us try to put our ancestors back into a condition that one, they were freed from, two, many of them took up arms to free themselves from? Because when you go study the Civil War, there's about 200,000 African Americans who served in the Civil War, took up arms to fight against their former slave masters. So why do some of us try to put them back into a condition that they, one, were freed from, and two, took up arms to free themselves from? I'm still trying to figure that one out, but okay. All right, because just a few years ago, some of them will call themselves descendants of kings and queens. So I'm still trying to figure this out. So I don't know everything, so maybe somebody can school me on that. All right, Kujichagulia, self-determination. To define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. Power, as Dr. Wade Nobles, who spoke here back in 2017, Dr. Wade Nobles, Professor James Small, and Dr. Linda Jeffries, they were here all on the same day speaking. Were y'all here for that? Yeah. Okay, some of y'all were here. Okay, I know they were here. Okay. Power is the ability to define and shape reality and have other people accept your definition of reality as if it were their own. Coming from the Latin word potere, meaning to be able. This is something that one of our great scholars, Dr. Wade Nobles, teaches us. All right, let's see here. Let me go to the next one. Okay, there we go. All right, now, when was Kwanzaa created? Kwanzaa was created in 1966 by Dr. Maulana Karenga and the organization US. It was members of organization US, along with Dr. Maulana Karenga, that created Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa, and this was in the midst of the Black freedom movement. It reflects a concern for cultural groundedness in thought and practice. Kwanzaa was created to serve multiple purposes and to address specific problems that African people were dealing with in America in 1966, but still dealing with those problems today in 2021, about to be 2022. And I talked to one of my teachers, Dr. Linda Jeffries, about this, who was just here. We had Dr. J here in September for the screening of the documentary Haki, the role of economics in the development of civilization. How many people were here for that? Nobody? Okay. All right. You missed Dr. J threw down. But I talked to him about this because he knows all these people. And I said, Doctor, in my research, it looks like members of the organization, us, along with Dr. Karenga, created Kwanzaa, founded Kwanzaa. He said, yeah, you're correct. So I said, okay, that's good enough for me. Now, Kwanzaa, what is Kwanzaa? Because some people think Kwanzaa is a black Christmas, or you celebrate Kwanzaa, you can't celebrate Christmas or something like that. If you celebrate Kwanzaa, you don't believe in God or what have you. Kwanzaa is an African American and Pan-African holiday which celebrates family, community, and culture. That's at the heart of Kwanzaa. FCC, family, community, and culture. It's celebrated December 26th through January the 1st, okay? So if you want to celebrate Christmas December 25th, you can still celebrate Kwanzaa. You don't have to feel torn between the two, okay? Now, and one of the things is, how many people listen to the African History Network show on 9 10 a.m. Superstation? You should listen, because I'll be on live tonight, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I did a show on December 21st for the winter solstice, and we dealt with some of the origins of Christmas, things like this. But it's important to understand that a lot of people say, well, Kwanzaa is a made-up holiday, you know, but all these holidays are made-up holidays. You actually study the history of them. The problem is we've been taught to celebrate things we don't understand the history of. All right, now the name Kwanzaa comes from the Kiswahili phrase matunda ya Kwanzaa. Now some people say Swahili, it's actually Kiswahili. Matunda ya Kwanzaa, which means first fruits. Kiswahili is the most widely spoken African language. You can visit the website, officialkwanzaawebsite.com, for more information about Kwanzaa also. Now, what is Pan-Africanism? You say Pan-Africanism, some people get scared, think they have to stop eating pork or something like that. You know, when you say Pan-Africanism, right? It's a good idea to stop eating pork, but you can be a Pan-Africanist and eat pork if you want to. All right? Now, Pan-Africanism is an ideology that African people around the world and throughout the diaspora should be united. It deals with the social, cultural, political, economic, material, and spiritual aspects. It doesn't matter who your colonizer was or who your colonizer is, okay? Because the African people basically, with the exception of Ethiopia and Liberia, we've all been colonized, all right? Because some people get into debate and think they're colonized because they speak French or the other one speaks English or something like that. One colonizer is better than another. They're all colonizers. This is what we have to understand, all right? Now, Pan-Africanism teaches that the fate of African people worldwide is intertwined, and we share not only a common history, but a common destiny. We share not only a common history, but a common destiny. For more information on Pan-Africanism, one good source, and it's a good basic source, Pan-Africanism for Beginners by Sid LaMail, pages 11 through 13. Then other sources, of course. But this is one I read back in college, like I graduated in '94, so it's like a long time ago, but I still have the book. All right, now what are first fruit celebrations? Okay, because this ties into the African origins of Kwanzaa. A lot of people think that, oh, okay, Kwanzaa is just some just totally new, made-up stuff and just new traditions, etc. But no, it's rooted in first fruit harvest celebrations practiced in Africa. Now, first fruit celebrations have taken place in African history going back to ancient Kemet. Can you say Kemet? Kemet is one of the original names for Egypt. Egypt is not what we call it. Ta-Nehesi or Ta-Seti, or what the Greeks called Nubia. All right? Now, first fruit celebrations occur in ancient and modern African civilizations, such as among the Ashanti of Ghana. Can you say Ashanti? The Yoruba of Nigeria. Can you say Yoruba? All right. Now, we can also find first fruit celebrations in large African empires, like amongst the Zulu or Amazulu of South Africa, and smaller societies in southeastern Africa, like the Matabele, the Fanga, and the Vega. Kwanzaa builds on 5 fundamental activities of continental African first fruit celebration. So this is borrowed from these different practices from different first fruit harvest celebrations in different African cultures. Kwanzaa builds on 5 fundamental activities of continental African first fruit celebrations: ingathering, reverence, commemoration, recommitment, and celebration. For more information, how many people know that Dr. Maulana Karinga wrote a book on Kwanzaa? Yeah. Okay, so as I read his book, I do research, I read his book. All right, pages, this is page 16 through 17. The African American holiday of Kwanzaa, a celebration of family, community, and culture. Because he goes deep into it. I also wrote an article a few years ago dealing with Kwanzaa and the origins and things like this. Okay. Now, when we look here briefly here at some of the African roots of Kwanzaa, in ancient Kemet, the festival is called Pert in Men, okay, in the Middle Net, okay, what the Greeks call the hieroglyphics, or the coming forth of men, which was seen as a reaffirmation of the harmonious interlocking of the divine, natural, and human, or social, among the Zulu or Amazulu. And in the film Black Panther, we see 11 different African cultures represented. We see the Amazulu, we see the cultures from Namibia, Nigeria, all that, the Mercy from Ethiopia, all that's represented in the film Black Panther. Now, among the Zulu or Amazulu, it was called Umkosi. Among the Swazi, it was called Ingwala. Among the Matabele, Inswala. Among the Ashanti, it had various names as well. Among the Yoruba, various names depending on the region. Okay, now the Ashanti or Yoruba festivals are usually referred to as the New Yam Festival, Y-A-M, the New Yam Festival, which is the time of harvesting the first yams. Even though these festivals have various names and are from different African societies or nations, they all focus around the harvesting of the first fruits and have similar values and practices, okay? And this is from Dr. Karinga's book as well. You can check that out also. So what we see here is, because once again, and I speak all across the country, and now people say that Kwanzaa is a made-up holiday, things like this. They don't cite the African cultural first fruit celebrations that Kwanzaa is based upon and the cultures that it comes from. Okay? Kwanzaa helps to reconnect African people to who we are. Just as the 14 pieces of Asar were dismembered and Aset collected the 13 pieces and he was resurrected. Okay? This history and culture helps us to remember, helps us to put those pieces back together and come alive again. All right, now, as I said before, you know, a lot of people, and this is not to offend anybody, but a lot of people say, oh, Kwanzaa is made up holiday. If you study the history of all the holidays are made up holidays, okay? Everything from Easter, Christmas, Thanksgiving, St. Patrick's Day, Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo is celebrated more in the U.S. than it is in Mexico. Cinco de Mayo is not Mexico's Independence Day. That's celebrating a minor battle in 1862 where 2,000 Mexicans held off 6,000 French, okay, in the war that was going on. The 4th of July as well, that's made up too, okay? I'm not saying things didn't happen. I'm saying there was a time where they didn't celebrate. It's something made up, okay? Dr. Musa who wrote the book African People and European Holidays and Mental Genocide, called it the 4th of July, all right? Valentine's Day, all these are made up holidays, okay? You can celebrate them if you want to, but I think it's important, especially for African people, to understand the history of what it is we've been taught to celebrate. Because a lot of times we participate in things and don't know what we're doing, okay? And then when we ask people, well, why do you do this? Why you do it? Well, my parents taught me, or my teachers taught me, or something like that, okay? How many people read African People and European Holidays and Mental Genocide? This is book 1. He has a book 2 by Dr. Musa. How many people read it? Not one person clapping? Okay, so take a picture of this. Go research this, all right? And then I have lectures dealing with the holidays. I have a 3-hour lecture dealing with the origins of Christmas, the pre-Christian origins, the winter solstice, and how all this ties back to ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt, things like this as well. This is Bantu Stephen Biko, one of our great South African freedom fighters who died in 1977 from injuries he suffered from South African police. He was betrayed by Denzel Washington in the 1987 movie Cry Freedom. He said, the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. The most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. We have to take our minds back. We know just yesterday, we know we lost Bishop Desmond Tutu as well. Very quickly here, if we look at the, okay, very quickly here, to connect this to the film Black Panther, I'm going to skip through some of this, right? And so the character of Black Panther, T'Challa, was introduced July 1966 in Fantastic Four, issue number 52. Okay, it wasn't because of the Black Panther Party for self-defense; they weren't found until October 1966. But in the issue, he says at the end it was a two-part issue. He said that I am, as you see, hereditary chieftain of the Wakandans and perhaps the richest man in all the world. So when the movie came out, now this is Mansa Musa, Emperor of the Mali Empire, who became Emperor in 1312 AD. There was an article from History.com, the official website of the History Channel, when the movie Black Panther came out. And it talked about the richest man in the world. And it talked about Mansa Musa, but it connected it to T'Challa in Black Panther. Okay? And it said, this is an excerpt from the article, it says, in the vast fictional universe, or Marvel Comics, T'Challa, better known as Black Panther, is not only king of Wakanda, and Wakanda is a real word, okay? Wakanda is a Bantu word, but Wakanda is also in Native American languages, Omaha, Ponca, and Sioux Indian languages. It means possesses secret powers. And in Wisconsin, there's a Wakanda water park as well, okay? Because I did a lot of research to prepare for the lectures I was doing on the film Black Panther. Now, T'Challa is also the richest superhero of them all. And although today's fight for the title wealthiest person alive involves a tug of war between billionaire CEOs, the wealthiest person in history, Mansa Musa, has more in common with Marvel's first black superhero. Okay, now, Mansa Musa became ruler of the Mali Empire in 1312 AD, or Common Era, taking the throne after his predecessor, Abubakar II, for whom he had served as deputy, went missing on a voyage he took by sea to find the edge of the Atlantic Ocean. Mansa Musa's rule came at a time when European nations were struggling due to raging civil wars and a lack of resources. Okay? Because this is right before the bubonic plague. The Black Death hits in 1347 and hits in spurts from 1347 to 1400, and Europe loses between 1/4 to 1/3 of their population. Now, during that period, the Mali Empire flourished thanks to ample natural resources like gold and salt. Read this entire article here. This 14th century African emperor remains the richest person in the world. This is from March 19, 2018. This is from history.com. This is what white people are telling you. Okay? All right. So, and then this is information here on Wakanda as well. Wakanda is a real word. Also means possessing secret powers. I'm going to wrap it up with this here. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. I teach online classes Saturdays and Sundays. On Sundays, it's a 10-week online course, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa. Understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We deal with thousands of years of history, what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We do the classes live. All the sessions are archived, they're recorded. You can go back and watch it any time. So as soon as you register, you can watch the class we did last week. And you still have access to the full class even after the course is over. So in September 2022, if you want to go back and watch the full class, you can. Then the other class I teach on Saturdays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, a 10-week online course from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. And we look at first what leads up to the Civil War taking place, starting in 1803 with the Louisiana Purchase, and then we go through and look at that history through 1968. So each class we go through and analyze approximately a 10, 15, maybe 20-year period of time. It's a visual presentation as well. So visit AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Then you can email me through the website or email me at TheAHNShow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. So I'm going to wrap it up there and say Wakanda forever. Thanks for your support. Baragani, Asante Sana, Michael Imhotep. Peace. And I'll be a visitor here Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday also out front.
All right, thank you. All right. Let's give him a big hand. That is my brother here in Detroit.
Kwanzaa is coming, and the KwanzaaShop.com has all of your Kwanzaa needs. Order your Kwanzaa set today, which includes a kinara, candles, a mat, a cup, the African American flag, and a basket. Visit the KwanzaaShop.com, thekwanzaashop.com. They have kinara sets, which include a candle holder, candles, a mat, and a cup. Kwanzaa is December 26th through January the 1st. Add the early bird discount code for 10% off your order placed before November 28th. Visit thekwanzaashop.com and place your order today. The KwanzaaShop.com has all of your Kwanzaa needs to celebrate this African American Pan-African holiday. TheKwanzaaShop.com. iRedify is a Black-owned digital platform that showcases Black and Brown cultures and people. The books on the platform are written by African American authors, Afro-Caribbean authors, African authors, and so much more. Kids 14 and under can read ebooks, listen to audiobooks, and complete learning activities. Kids can even write in the books digitally. Get unlimited access to everything on the platform for only $8.99 a month at iRedify.com. Sign up for your membership today.
Mental health and well-being have long been a taboo subject in the so-called African American community. So I enlisted the help of mental health experts, thought leaders, and activists to help kill the ghost of Willie Lynch and heal from post-traumatic slave syndrome.
We experience trauma a lot of times on a subconscious level. So sometimes something happens to us and we know that it's traumatizing, but we don't really recognize the extent of the trauma.
African Spirit Cards specialize in the design and printing of high-quality African-centered note cards and stationery. African Spirit Cards breathes and rejoices in the African and African American experiences. They honor our African heritage and all that they do for you by proudly displaying the great motifs and ornamentations of the African world diaspora. They use African images, African proverbs, and many African languages to fully immerse their clients in the wisdom and history of and the connection to Africa. They understand the importance of having images around us that reflect who we are. These images also illustrate where we came from and what we desire to be. They are here to serve you. Follow them on Instagram at African Spirit Cards, that's African with a K. They have a wide selection. Check out their holiday selection at etsy.com/shop/African Spirit Cards. That's Etsy, ETSY. You can give them a call at 313-995-3579, 313-995-3579. You can email them at janeldesigns@africanspiritcards.com. That's JANAL designs@africanspiritcards.com and place your order today. Come and travel with me to a time long ago and place far away. You will experience high adventure and excitement. You are fighting alongside an ancient army in fierce battle. Feel the exhilaration of struggle and final conquest. My name is Meninkere, and I am both a prince and a priest in one of the most advanced civilizations humans have ever produced. I want you to ride with me in my chariot as I slay the barbarians who have come to invade my land. I invite you to sit at the conference table with the great Pharaoh Taharka and his ministers as they plan intrigue and use subterfuge to outmaneuver and defeat the enemy. Come back with me to the land of your ancestors, to the beautiful land of Kemet. So open the pages of this book and begin the adventure. Find out what happens in the book Meninkere Battles the Assyrians in the Nile Valley from author Makari Jones. Get your copy today at Amazon.com.